Okay, I hope you all have a good break. I would like to just let you know what I'm going to do this week and for the rest of the quarter. So this week, I will not introduce any new material. So for all the lecture and discussion, I'm going to dedicate it to, today is actually homework 5, 6, and 7. But hopefully 5, you actually get it done very quickly. And Wednesday and Friday will all dedicated to homework 6 and 7. All right, just homework 6 and 7, you will get a lot of help from the material that we will provide. So we hope that you will learn a lot through that experience, but you will be guided to complete that as a team. So that's going to happen. And then the office hour will be dedicated to final project. So for example, in the class, if you have any question, I will probably provide you some basic material like this hour. And then you will actually ask me a question and I'm going to pull out there. So I'm essentially using the regular lecture and discussion as answering your question about homework. But using office hour today, we have office hour again from 10 to 1. And also Wednesday until 1, Thursday still 2 to 5, and then Friday also to 1. Tuesday, I haven't decided. I have to look at my schedule and maybe we can do office hour tomorrow as well. All right. So that's how I'm going to do this today. And then next week, I'm actually going to be still hosting office hour. So if you have a question about, because some of you probably have not finished homework, whatever, 1 to 7. Some of you are actually from transfer student. You're by default behind everybody else because you try to catch up the gap. So no problem. Next week, I'll still host office hour to help you to finish whatever homework. Some of you, for some reason, you still need to fix homework, say 6 or 7 didn't work during the final demo. You want to make a touches, that's fine. And then I'll help you next week as well. All right. So I think I need to turn in the grade until probably about 2 weeks from now. I think that was the deadline I usually turn in until the dean's office yell at me saying that why I haven't turned in grade. So that's which means I usually turn in the last few hours of the deadline. So the reason I did that is because some of the students still try to finish their final parts of the homework, just to let you know. Okay, that's an option. That's not necessary. Okay. All right. Any question? I'm actually going to talk a little bit because I think this is not a new topic, but it's an important topic. Yes. Today, because my homework 6 includes homework 5 answer. So I have not provided that because I don't want to provide before the deadline. I tried to remove it, but when I remove it, I realized it's not just one part remove. I need to remove multiple parts, which is kind of trouble. Okay. Okay, so the question I want to ask you, this is something which I already talked about, but you probably never recognize I use the term here. So I'm going to introduce two terms called structured versus unstructured data. So one is called structured data, one is called unstructured data. Have anybody heard about structured versus unstructured data? Yes. Can you share with me what's structured data, what's unstructured data? How about you? Yeah, I mean, those raise your hand. Can you provide what you think about maybe similar or different from? Anything you want to add? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So anybody want to add to this? Okay. I want to tell you that C++ is structured data. So yes, CSV and like a SQL database, they are structured data because they have exactly the same number of columns that you have. Each column represents some information. You want to use it for whatever the information you want to represent. So what the structure means that you have a set of specific attributes you want to represent for the information you want to store. So that's called structured data. You have an exactly specific attribute, meaning that each of the attribute must be there. You cannot miss any one of them. And so C++, by default, the C++ object is a structured data, even though the only twist we have there is the pointer, because pointer will lead you to another table. But that's actually also can be represented in SQL, in CSV as well. In SQL, I can actually represent identifier, which is this identifier leads me to another table of information. So in some sense, C++ and SQL, they're exactly equivalent in terms of their information. And they're both structured data. So, okay, in contrast to that is unstructured data. So unstructured data meaning that, yes, you have all the attributes, but some of them might not be there. And some of them, it could be more than what you expect. Say, if you have a C++ object with 10 attributes, represent a person. So JSON, for example, is a typical example of unstructured data. I have 6 of this 10, but I have another 30 you never thought of that. So that's for unstructured data because you don't have a specific number of attributes. You don't know what's there. It might be there, it might not be there. So that's structured versus unstructured data. So what I'm saying here is that when we're doing JSON and C++ conversion, another way to say it is we are trying to convert between structured and unstructured data. Okay, so let me actually ask you, what's the advantage of having structured data? What's the advantage of unstructured data? Why I have this too? What's the advantage of each of these? Yes. Can you speak a little bit louder? It's actually performance. The structure, because it's a specific, the size of the table is specific, it's easier to find. And obviously, the advantage of unstructured data is that you don't need to have all the skills. You can be really extensible. You can actually extend your definition about a person. You can extend your definition about a transaction easily to other things. I mean, using inheritance, you can do that. But using inheritance is a compiler concept. That's another thing. Struct is whatever we do, C++ is structure. After the compiler time, everything has to be structured. Essentially, that's what we're doing. So what we're having is structure versus unstructured, which is the C++ versus JSON. Okay, so we're doing this conversion between back and forth. So which part do you think is easier? To convert from structured to unstructured, or to convert from unstructured to structured? Which part do you think is easier? Yes. Structure unstructured is easier, right? Because we don't have any uncertainty. Every information we know. So converted from structured to unstructured is easier relatively. Is this JDOM or DUMJ? So converting structured to unstructured, is this JDOM or DUMJ? You're supposed to turn in homework today, so I think it's about time to ask. Yes, it's DUMJ, that's correct. Very good. So converting C++ to JSON is actually the easier part. So the homework 5 is an easier part about the two things. Is because we already know all the structure, we just convert that into a JSON format. That's what your DUMJ is actually. For homework 5, you know specifically output I can expect for you to have, right? All right. So then it's a tougher one. That's why I actually first you develop DUMJ and then we're going to deal with JDOM. That's homework 6, which is actually convert from unstructured data to structured. So I have to generally talk about this principle. I already showed you the code, but I realized that I probably want to motivate you a little bit at this level. So converting unstructured to structured. By the way, that's a lot of things we need to do in the software industry today. Because all the information you collected from around the world is probably all unstructured. But unstructured, remember I said why unstructured, why structure has advantage? Because performance. Because actually I can convert all my unstructured into some kind of structure with billions of records. With billions of record exact format, I can do a lot of database optimization. I can do a lot of computation. That's actually helped me to very quickly get into that. I mean, some of the industry sector, they actually develop technology which they can actually handle unstructured data with extremely high performance. They can do that. But still, the best we know, the best technology we know today, still not as good as the better technology, not even best, the better technology of the way we can handle structured data. Because it's actually already there. If you have enough memory, you dump everything into an SQL table in your memory or in your SD drive, you can actually get it done really, really beautifully. Okay, so that's why this conversion is very critical. And the problem is when you do this conversion from unstructured to structured. Therefore, what you're doing is not really trying to convert everything, but convert what's in there that's belong to the structured data you try to target into. So essentially, what I'm saying is that assuming your target, which is the structured C++, has 10 attributes. So what you are looking for is you wonder whether that 10 attribute is all in the unstructured part, counterpart of that data. If you have that 10, you only extract those 10 and just surrender the rest, because the rest is something you don't know, You don't care, just let everybody handle that. But in the case, you realize there are two that's missing. If there are two missing, you can either supply a null value if that's acceptable to your application, or you just say, sorry, the conversion failed because you missed two very important arguments. So that's the reason that I want to talk about this is that in your JDOM, the program, really the difference is you do this conversion, but you need to check whether some of the attribute is there or not. If some of the attribute is not there, you have to declare that the conversion failed, then you cannot get the right JSON object. Okay, so that's kind of the high level question. I just open up, make sure you understand that why we're doing this. All right. So, okay, having said that, I'm going to turn myself to a regular homework session to see your question. So anybody want to ask any question on homework 5? Because I know some of you, not everyone, I would say, still working on homework 5. Any question about homework 5? You'd like me to answer? We can go over the code and help you to resolve any issue. So all of you already got homework 5? Yes. You mean the output? For homework 5? For homework 5, you just need to print out the output. That's fine. You don't need to redirect the file. Yeah, you just print it out, just like the driver program. Print out. I mean, once you know how to print it out, it's always easy for us to change the code to get the output. In fact, I have a facility program called JSON25. Directly take the JSON object directly out to the file. That's good for facility. One line. Yeah. You don't need to have an output file. We will use your code. Yes. No, submit as a homework 5. Sorry, I forgot. I'm too lazy to change that. Homework 4 part 2. Any question with homework 5? Yeah.
So we just filing thing.
Yes.
Just the submission part to make it
right. File name the same, and then submission to homework 5. Because I think if you submit to homework 4, you will collide with my previous one. Then I'll be in trouble because I don't know which one. Okay. Let me say this. Any question like this about submission process? Yes, please. If you want to change that, that's fine. But just don't change. If you change that, make sure the makefile everything changed. So when I make, I will be able. The TA actually will create that one. When they make, we will not need to change back to something. Yes. Yes, that's the one thing you need to. That's the only thing you need to change to driver program. You change your ESID. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Okay. Before I turn off this, because I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to use this week to essentially using the class like office hour. But since I have the floor, I would just say, are there any questions regarding homework general that I can present to you as a group? Other than that, I'm going to turn it off to use as you can bring your computer. I can try to solve your problem with homework 5, I guess right now. And sometime later today, I would say pretty soon, I'm going to release homework 6 reference implementation. The reason I cannot do that is it's already included the solution for homework 5. So I will be honest, I haven't checked the hand in. I want to see how many of you hand in. I see most of you hand in. I think I will just release early. So it will be help everybody. Any question regarding homework 5 in general? Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the recording, and then you can bring your computer over here. And then at around 10 o'clock, we're going back to academic search. So for your final project, you want to talk about that. So for those of you coming late, I said the regular lecture and discussion I will use for homework. Office hour is used mainly for final project, but we might answer some homework question as well. Okay. All right, let me turn it off. And you can bring your computer here.